Hi guys, and welcome back to the Happy to Health podcast. Myself, Danny Williams, Dan Hancock, and Ben Lewis. Now, today's conversation is a very, very special one. It's with my good friend, Kirsty Hendey. She's an athlete, an amazing athlete at that. She's a fitness influencer. She's in incredible shape, but even better than that, she's got an incredible mind with some incredible insights on her amazing career, and she offers it all in this incredible conversation. Strap yourselves in, and I hope you enjoy. Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Happy to Health podcast of myself, Danny Williams, Dan Hancock, and Ben Lewis. Now, I say this every single guest, but today's guest, I'm so excited because it's a good friend of mine. She's an athlete. She's a fitness influencer, posting some amazing content out there on social media. It's none other than Kirsty Hendey. Kirsty, thanks for joining us. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thanks for having me. What a lovely introduction.
She's a wee sweetheart, eh?
Oh. No, I meant every word, honestly. I meant every word. And especially with the content you're posting on social media lately, tell us a little bit about where you are, why you're there, and some of the things you're posting on social media, because it's even making me a little bit envious and making me think, God, for one, I wish I was there. And for two, I need to get in shape. Get myself in the gym.
So in shape. Do you know what? I became a little bit stagnant in London, and I came to Egypt in October last year and got on so well with the team. I'm working with this really cool brand called LA7. I guess they're very similar to like Equinox, but establishing themselves here in Egypt and the Middle East and Africa. And it's super exciting. Really talented team here. The production is just amazing. So I've decided to stay here for a few months. I think I'm going to stay for a little bit longer. So personal training, doing online coaching, different shoots and things like that. But just, working with the brand. And it's been really cool so far. So I'm learning lots about the culture out here, filming lots of cool content, trying to get involved in different activities here that this country has to offer. So I did like a half marathon around the pyramids the other day, which was awesome.
Wow. Oh my God.
So just doing a few different things, so it's really cool. I'm loving it.
That's amazing. And for those who don't know, and for you guys and the listeners, just before you left, Kirsty, we actually was shooting a content day together, and we had a conversation right before you left. And it is so refreshing and nice to hear you talking about your experience now, because I remember very vividly that day you was actually quite stressed about the move and about the uncertainty about where he was going to be staying and all this kind of stuff. And to see you looking so vibrant and so happy about it, it makes me happy.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it can be quite daunting moving to a different country. But I think sometimes, if you want to grow, you've got to take yourself out of your comfort zone into a new environment, new people. And it definitely sort of, helps you to evolve, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's really nice to see that you upstaged Ben from when he went to Egypt. All he did was go and stand and do that thing with his fingers next to in front of the pyramids.
I had a typical tourist pose, where you stand in front of the pyramid and it looks like you're leaning on it.
Yeah, there's Kirsty doing marathons around the pyramid.
And he's standing there with a little thingy on top. Love it. They're insane though. They're so beautiful. The architecture out here is pretty cool.
So, Kirsty, Danny obviously touched on some of your content there, and that's probably one of the first things that I would think of as well. For anyone listening, me, Danny, and Kirsty on a brand new fitness app called Amplify. What's your goal with that, Kirsty? Because obviously some of the things that you're posting are out there, but they're really inspiring as well. What's your overall goal from what you're posting? Is it to inspire? Is it to educate? What do you really want your followers to take on board with that?
So I want to inspire people to come out of their comfort zone, take risks, harness their power, and exceed their own expectations. Like if someone can, run a marathon and they've never, even run before, or, have the confidence to jump out of an aeroplane, or, even just, go for a run in the rain, for example. But anything that's kind of going to, enable you to grow, personally, professionally, and in terms of like your fitness, physical and mental health, I think is going to, benefit you as a person. So I just want to inspire a community of people that want to push themselves out of their comfort zone and take on challenges and different workouts and, that kind of thing.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that. So obviously something that you're so passionate about. Where did that come from? Have you always been active? What was life growing up when it comes to exercise and physical activity? And how was life in general?
I don't know. I've always been very active. I was a dancer. I always played sports. So I don't know where this drive for pain and discomfort comes from. I can't quite explain it, but I think it's just the feeling of pushing yourself past your limitations. That's something that's very exciting for me. And I think some of the few challenges that I've done in the past, I'm definitely inspired by people like Ross Edgley and Bear Grylls and some of the things that they've done. And I'm in awe of military personnel and the kind of training that they go through. I find that, like I said, super inspiring. So I think I never want to grow old without knowing what I'm truly capable of. So I think I want to take on more challenges and learn more about myself. And if I can build that into a business, and inspire people along the way, then it's a win-win.
What an answer. You just kind of touched on it there, and I want to ask you. You said one thing that scares you is growing old and not understanding essentially what you was ever capable of. Would you say that's your biggest fear? And if not, what other things kind of scare you in life? I feel like you used to just seem like this fearless woman who's out there doing anything and everything, so accomplished. But there must be things that out there that do scare you, do frighten you. Did you let us in on what some of those things might be?
I think a lot of people are scared of, failure and, not being successful. I guess that then is a long conversation around what do people deem, success to be, in terms of like social status or, financial freedom. I think for me, I just want to be kind of happy in my own right and doing things that I enjoy. And I definitely want to build a business around, helping people overcome sort of like challenges and obstacles and physical challenges.
Love that. You talk about challenges there and potential things that might stand in your way with achieving things you want in life. I'd love to ask you and kind of talk to you and open this up about things you might have faced when entering the industry and hurdles you might have overcome, especially as a female in this space of health and fitness and bodybuilding and being strong and that kind of stuff, which to some parts of society might potentially be frowned upon and be looked down at, which I think is ridiculous, by the way. But there'll be some people out there that might not particularly, agree with that. And I'd love to hear your take on, have you ever faced that head on? Have you ever faced people not being so accepting of that and you and your mission and that kind of stuff? And if so, what was that like and how did you overcome that? Because it's easy for us to sit here as health professionals and say, we love what you do, keep doing it. But to some people out there, it's like, it's crazy, so what kind of challenges have you faced is what I'm asking, and how would you overcome them?
I think there's always going to be kind of this sort of stigma attached to women that, women are sort of like, petite and like less stronger than men and, shouldn't kind of, get dirty and take on crazy challenges or anything like that. And you'll find some, people that find that sort of like strange. Whereas I think it's, it's an amazing thing to want to, get involved in. Personally, I haven't experienced like too much of it. Like you obviously, like being on social media, you're going to get a lot of like negative comments. So I get a lot of comments sometimes on my appearance or, why I'm doing certain, workouts or challenges or so on. So I think that can be quite hard sometimes if someone's commenting, on, and, there's not genetically, there's not really that much I can do to like change, my physique, and I'm like happy with it. So I think that can be hard, women getting a lot of, negative criticism for the way that they look in the industry, I think, or just, women in general.
Do you ever take any of it personally? Does it ever sometimes get you, some of those comments?
Oh yeah, there'll be, and there's not that many of them, so it's, you don't want to daunt too much on like the negative comments. You want to, if that's like 5% of them, then you want to focus on the 95% of the really positive comments that come through. But I think definitely there's a few where I'll like get a bit upset over, or I think, oh really, like I'm so insecure about that anyway, you do not need to bring that up again. But it's one of those things that you just kind of got to accept. We're in this very connected world that's an amazing blessing because we get to connect and talk to new people all the time and create and form friendships and business opportunities and partnerships. But there's obviously like the negative side to it as well, where there's a lot of scrutiny in terms of what you do, what you look like, and what you say.
So it would be daft for us not to bring this up. You were obviously on television show, SAS Who Dares Wins. Tell us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about maybe the process, how it was for you, There's obviously a ton of positives that you can take from it as well. And interestingly, I mean, a lot of the stuff that they preach and they teach in that are a lot of your philosophies and ideologies when it comes to, you know, to putting pressure on yourself in order to be a better person. How was that whole experience for you?
It was the most surreal experience. And I don't think you ever know what you are setting yourself up for. And although it is, you know, it's a television show, it's, you know, it's entertainment. It is very, very hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And I think, you know, you watch one episode is, you know, 42 minutes, but actually that's 48 hours worth of filming. So there is so much that goes on behind the scenes that you don't see. So, you know, you learn a lot from the guys. They kind of like teach you some of the different, you know, activities. Like when we abseiled, you know, from a helicopter, we'd learn certain, you know, maneuvers to sort of come down the rope and like mounting the ship on the ladder, like the best way to climb up a ladder and things like that that were super cool. And then there's a lot of things that you don't see on there, you know, survival skills and that kind of thing. And so, yeah, thinking back, I remember just leaving thinking, was that even real? Because that was seriously like messed up. So, yeah, a really crazy experience. I'm so glad that I did it. I learned a lot. And I think, yeah, it's just now I need my next kind of like fix. I need something more. So I think that's kind of like what I'm looking for at the moment.
That's amazing.
That's a hint almost as well. What's coming next?
I can relate to some extent. Obviously, being on TV myself at one point, it's like you see a version of yourself that is very, very minimized compared to the actual reality of it, and then all the other time where you're living and you're there, it doesn't even get shown on TV. And you learn a lot. You probably learn more in that time than you do when you're filming. And yeah, I can fully relate to that. And I guess the question is, how did you manage your? I don't want to go too deep and too negative, but how did you manage your mindset and mental health when you was going through that process? Because like you said before, nothing can really prepare you for that. I think we all have an idea of what we think going on TV is like, but myself and Kirsty can say firsthand that idea is so often so wrong. It's like becoming a famous singer for a few weeks or a movie star. It's like you think you know what it's like, and then you go and do it. It's actually nothing like what you think it is. So how did you kind of manage your mindset in those extreme circumstances, in that extreme environment? Because in everyday life, it might be a bit more simple, but under that scrutiny and under that extreme pressure, it must have been more difficult.
Do you know what? That was the most challenging aspect of the whole process. You know, you obviously go through a lot of, and you'll know this, like pre-screening interviews with, you know, therapists. You'll go through like a 3-hour like master interview. You'll go through, you know, multiple tests to make sure that you are, I don't know, sort of, what's the word?
Like psychologically,
mentally fit for the show.
Mentally fit enough to go through the show. So there's a lot of tests that are done. There's a big team that kind of support you through the process. And I think the toughest part for me was getting that call and hearing what was going to be shown on the TV, you know, that the next night or whatever. And I remember hearing that and thinking, oh my God, why are you showing that? Like that was a really bad like situation that happened. And people are I'm just wondering what people were going to think of you, because you kind of get a bit of a heads up. And I don't know if it was the same with you, Danny. It probably wasn't. So you don't know what's going to be shown.
Well, with mine, it was like I would live it, and then it would be on TV the next night. So obviously I was still in the villa, still unaware of what was being shown or being left out. It was more a case of I came out, and then before I had my phone back or could see my family and friends, you get debriefed on everything that got shown. And it was like, okay, so you're back into the real world now. Here's everything that happened, and here's everything that we showed, and here's what everyone thought of you. And then you just kind of, it's kind of like that. I didn't have the heads up, unfortunately.
That's got to be so tough. But I think for me, I definitely went through a little bit of anxiety, panic attacks. And that's not me. Like, I'm a very strong, like, confident person. And, you know, that lasted for like a day or whatever. And then the next day I'd be like, okay, yeah, you're right. I did mess up. I did do this wrong. I did chase and tackle my own teammate by mistake and got called, you know, an idiot or whatever by, you know, the DS, because I did, you know, chase someone on my own team. And I did. And you think of all the mistakes and things that you've done, and you just worry what you're going to look like, basically. And I feel like that was harder than the actual process itself for me personally.
Yeah. And all these challenges, these situations that you've put yourself into, how much of that has positively affected the mindset that you carry into each challenge? And is that kind of resilience something that you teach your clients on your online program?
Yeah, a lot of it is mental toughness. So a lot of my clients that come to me are already quite intermediate, advanced sort of people, athletes, which is really awesome. So helping them, take on ultra marathons or different challenges that they want to go through. And yeah, a lot of it does come down to mental toughness. David Goggins is an amazing role model for this. He's got a lot of negative and positive. He's awesome. I love him. So I think a lot of that is just trying to educate people to, believe in themselves and know that, you can take on anything you put yourself through. It's just, silencing the negative thoughts in your mind and, taking it, one step at a time and just, realizing what the end goal is, knowing what your why is and just pushing through to achieve that.
It's interesting that you brought up David Goggins there because we could obviously see the similarities with that mindset, right? But a lot of people think that's unattainable, and a lot of people think, oh, they're just obsessed, or they're just this, they're just that. What would you say to those people? Because I feel as if what makes sometimes exercise difficult or sometimes puts people off is thinking that because you are, at an elite level, that's something they can never achieve, or the mindset is something that they can never achieve. What would you say to these people? Because last thing we want is anyone being, put off by it. Can anyone do this? Can anyone develop this mindset that you've got?
Yeah, absolutely. And it all starts with like small goals, each day. As soon as you wake up in the morning, it's, having a super positive mindset. It's, making your bed first thing. It's as soon as you achieve one small task for the day, that then encourages you to achieve, more tasks. So I think it's just, it's starting small. It's doing things that are kind of relatable. So, you don't want to go from, running, a 2K or whatever, a 5K to then trying to do like an ultra marathon immediately. And I think people see that as an unrealistic sort of like goal. But, if you gradually build it up and you have the discipline, you have the consistency, you practice your run, and then you're going to lead up to an ultra marathon. So I think it's just, it's finding goals that are realistic, and it's just having the discipline to just like do it. I don't think people want it enough. I think that's what the issue is.
I'm starting to feel very guilty that I've never run a marathon. You made it sound so easy.
Danny's gonna
Why have I not run a marathon yet?
You're going to go do one tomorrow, aren't you? I was.
Yeah, all I've got to do is make my bed and
make your bed and then open the door and run.
Yeah.
Danny slept in for the gym this morning.
Are you trying to make him more guilty now?
Hey, I was jet lagged, all right?
Fully rested. So you obviously talking about these challenges. What sort of things are you wanting to do? What sort of things have you done already?
Do you know what? We're talking about me like bigging me up here, and I haven't done too many. I need to do so many more. I've got an ultra marathon next month in Sri Lanka, which would be really cool. Obviously had a really bad attempt at swimming the channel, which has taught me a lot. And I feel like that failure, which hit me hard because I ended up in hospital in ICU trying to do, this was a crazy challenge. It was obviously locked down recently. And I said to my friend, I really want to do a challenge or do something. What can we do? And she's a swimmer. So she said, let's, swim the channel. Made it sound very easy. We'll get some people on board. So with 8 weeks of training, I started doing cold water swimming in lakes, in the pools. This was still in winter. Started doing sea swims as well, night swims with the cap and the little green light and everything on, with holding the buoy and stuff. And then went into this channel swim, did the first 1 hour and was fine, but swallowed and ingested like a lot of water, and I could feel it on my lungs that it was, going quite badly. And then tried to do the second one and kind of failed. So I think that and ended up in hospital for a few days, secondary drowning, like water on the lungs and stuff. So I think that has taught me that you can't, run before you can walk. I think there are a lot of it is mental toughness, these kind of like challenges and this mindset, but a lot of it also comes down to preparation, and skills, and making sure that you've got, everything in place to succeed. And I think that taught me a lot about preparing for, future challenges.
Wow. I think that's quite inspiring to have that kind of self-awareness to reflect on that and say, I could have prepared a bit better for that situation. That mindset is incredible.
I love how you've decided to take lessons from that failure rather than let it discourage you. Like in a matter of months since that quote unquote failure, you've moved countries, you're about to do an ultra marathon in another country. And I think it's quite easy to have to let a failure discourage you and put you off putting yourself out there and going for the big things in the future. But I think what's really inspiring is you've chosen to not let it get you down, and you're going to throw yourself back out there and keep challenging yourself. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like a lot of athletes and people in general just put so much pressure on themselves to, achieve certain things, certain goals. And I think you've got to realize that we're all human. We're trying to do our best and, take the lessons learned from it and, go at it again.
I'd like to touch on your career a little bit, because obviously you've made this big change. You've discussed it's probably not permanent, but obviously moving out to Egypt. What was going through your head when you were making that decision? If anyone listening is faced with this challenge, and it's either fight or flight, what was going through your head? Was it just kind of like, nah, shit, I'm just going to go do it? Was it because the offer on the table was so good? Was it because you wanted to learn new things and experience new things? What was going through your head then?
I was so happy. I love London, and I was so happy in London, and I still am. I think that I got to a place where I was stagnant. I wasn't really learning, growing, sort of like developing. And this opportunity came along, and I knew that I would learn so much. I knew that I would get, a lot of exposure from it in terms of my career. I knew that in terms of like partnerships and collaborations, that would be really good for me. So I knew that I kind of just forced myself to just move, to do it and see what happens. And like I said, it's going really well so far. We'll see what happens over the next few months. There's, that the whole sort of mental toughness sort of mindset that I love, I'm building into a business at the moment. So I was just about to launch that like late last year. So I kind of need to think, what do I do? Because sometimes you can't do everything. You have to put certain projects on hold. So I'm still sort of, weighing up the pros and cons of each. But at the moment, I think this is good for me. This is forcing me out of my comfort zone. So I think I need to be here and just see what I can achieve over here.
That's brilliant. Kirsty, we've kind of spoken a lot about goals and your achievements, and maybe bigged you up a little bit, which I'm sure you don't mind, but which is great. But on the flip of the coin, your achievements don't define you, as you, I'm sure, are aware of. You're much more than the things that you've achieved. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about the process rather than the achievements and the things that you've gone and done, which are brilliant, by the way. But I'd love to talk to you about the process and how important is the process to you versus the achievements. Obviously, we talk about the swim, which didn't quite go to plan, and that I'm sure would have been very difficult to go through. But how important for you is the process, the preparation that you mentioned before, the build up to a potential achievement? How important is that to you versus the medal or the time or the lift? How important is the process to you?
I think you learn so much about yourself when you put yourself through, certain challenges, projects, like whatever it is that you're doing, if it's a new role at work or, a presentation that you're working on, it's not about the outcome. It's about what you learn, who you work with along the way. So I feel like that is super important. I think anything where you can, learn from others and force yourself to grow is super important.
I'd like to just bring up as well something that you said when you were talking about moving to Egypt as well, which I think is a really important point. You said that you recognized that you became stagnant, or that, things were a little bit stagnant. The issue that a lot of people have is that they don't recognize that. And then before they know it, they're in a rut. And then, but because of that lack of awareness, then it can go on. And then that's when people can develop poor mental health or, become a little bit lost and stuck. So how important is that self-awareness for you, being aware of the way that you think, being aware of your emotions? Because, of course, it's amazing that you were like, right, I want to better myself and I want to go off and chase something new. You wouldn't have been able to do that unless you'd actually been able to sit and realize your current situation.
Yeah, it's such a great point. I think it's having a lot of like self-awareness, isn't it? It's being aware of your mood, your behaviors, how your behavior and your thoughts and your actions affect other people, and how, their behaviors and thoughts, affect you as well. And I think that, I'm 99.9% of the time a super happy, positive person, but I think sometimes I'll go to a personal training session or I'll do some programming for a client. And, if I'm not super enthusiastic about it, something is sort of wrong. And I think that's the point that kind of got to, was that, it was very same. And so a fresh start, a new environment with new people, is always going to be beneficial. And I think definitely self-awareness is key, and understanding yourself, and those thoughts and positivity and that kind of thing.
Is that so? You mentioned that it was sort of your behavior and things like that. So have you got any tips for anyone? Is there anything that you notice? Is there anything that you notice when you're like, right, I need to either give myself a boot up the arse, or I need to go off and experience something new, or I need to take action in some form? For you personally, what sort of things do you pick up on?
Good question. I'm trying to think, actually. The only thing I'll do like all the time whenever I'm a bit like down is I'll play like a really fun like 90s song. So like, I don't know, like, the classics like Backstreet Boys, or like Blue, or like something like the Blue song. I can't think how I'm blue, but that one. Something that's just gonna, I'm free. Like, because you cannot, like, now you guys are all smiling. Like, you put that on and like you cannot not smile. Yeah. So I think music is key. Good people, like, keep a small circle. The 5 people that you surround yourself are the people that you are most like. So I think always surround yourself with good, positive people, positive energy. Knowing that we are only in this world for a short period of time, so you want to maximize it. I think dogs, go and pet a stranger's dog. Like,
you're on the right podcast.
Yeah. Puppy. Yep. All of these kind of like tips and tricks, are great. I think, and finding what works for you as well. Don't go meditate and sit by and go for cold dips in the sea if you're really, really not going to enjoy it. I think find the things that are going to really make you, smile and feel better.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant point as well. Also, it's great because we said that we wanted a singer to come on, so thank you for that, Kirsty. that can be your episode teaser, literally just the 10 seconds when you sing "I'm Blue." I think that's an incredible point, because so many people, when they think, I need to either better myself or improve my health, will either, obviously they want to jump on exercise, which is fantastic, but a lot of people will wake up 6 a.m, think, I just need to go to a spin class, better myself, go in a cold shower, eat perfect for the weekend. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with doing things that make them happy and they enjoy, whether that is, putting on a song and like dancing around the kitchen or something like that. So I think I just want to say that's an incredible insight. People need to, rather than thinking about, right, what is something that's, going to be purposeful that will get me there, something that really means something to them, and that's how they can improve their health.
There's a lot of pressure on society as well to do certain things, like trends, like having these cold showers. And I think try these kind of things and test out different things that are going to improve your mindset and your mood. But I think ultimately, like, what's going to make you feel good. And I think it's just making sure that you're doing more of that and being proactive as opposed to, just being reactive and being, miserable.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more.
I totally agree. And Kirsty, you sound like somebody that's got quite a good routine in order for you to get the best out of you. And how important is the creative process to you? Because obviously we've mentioned you put out some really, really cool, inspiring content online and social media. What does your creative process look like, and how do you get into that frame of mind to come up with these ideas and share them with everyone?
I think it's doing things that like you love and that you're maybe like good at. So I love doing, different core challenges and core workouts and that kind of thing, because it's something that I know that I can do quite well. It's something that I think people enjoy doing. So I think, know what you're good at, and if people, enjoy that and respond well to it, then obviously do more of it. I think sometimes people, like to hear failure as well. So I think, being vulnerable and talking about the negative impacts of things that you've done, or things that you've failed on. I think it always helps people to know that they're not alone, and everyone is struggling to some extent. But I think it's just doing what you love, and making sure that you're maximizing your time effectively.
And the thing is as well, when it comes to like those exercises, like when you post them online, like some people might be like, it's fine, like she can do that, but they might not realize that it may have taken you 50 attempts to get it right. It may might have taken 50 attempts to get it right. So it's a very humbling process,
And I think, I definitely need to show more of the failed attempts. It's like at the moment, actually, I did a workout earlier. Can you see my arm?
Oh my God.
This is 300 double unders and tears in my eyes trying to do it. So I think there's so many failures, and there's so many things. Like, Instagram is this world of like, beautiful, pretty, like, pristine, world of everything. And I think it's not reality, isn't it? I think the more that people, don't compare themselves to everyone, and they just, live in the moment and, live for themselves and just kind of like enjoy life, the happier everyone will be. I think we just need to, just enjoy things without thinking too much into it.
Kirsty, I'd love to just quickly bring up something that you said a few moments ago. You said something that we say a lot on the podcast, and it was, you are the sum of the 5 people around you, basically, or words to that effect. I'd love to know, is this something that you've always known, or is it something that you had to come to realize? And if it was something that you came to realize, what did that journey look and feel like when you was probably having to let go of some of the people around you in order to pursue the best version of yourself? Because I can say firsthand, it's not an easy journey to go on and an easy journey to kind of take. I'd love to know what that process looked like for you. Did you have to cut some people loose? Did you have to bring other people up with you? Have you always just known innately that this is something you had to do? I'd love to hear your version of events. I'd love to know.
Yeah, that's such a good point. No, it's something that I kind of like learned along the way. I think you realize that sometimes people can be draining and there's a lot of like negative energy. And I think that, I realized recently, and people tell me like, you're a connector. Like whenever we go out, or invite everyone along, and I'll introduce this person to that one. And I love doing that. And that's something I really enjoy. But, you're not always going to click with sort of everyone. And as we go through life, we're always constantly evolving. Sometimes you will evolve quicker than other people, or things will change or go down a different path. And I think it's just being confident and knowing that it's okay that, your journey changes and you're going a different direction to someone else, even if it's a childhood friends that you've been friends with, like 20 years or whatever. And I think, I think naturally, there's just sort of like been a drift, as opposed to me saying, oh, I don't want to hang around with you anymore, like certain people. But I think that I'm quite vocal about the fact that if people are negative, I try and make them aware of it and try and get them to be more, positive. But I think, yeah, it's always hard, isn't it? Because everyone's going through, like a different things in life. So I think, that can be like a tough one. But I think ultimately you've just got to do what's best for you and, your career and your journey in life.
I love that. I think for me as well, on my personal journey, a huge thing for me, for anyone listening, is I kind of realized that not everyone is going to either benefit you or is completely toxic, right? That we have this idea that someone's either toxic and they should rid them of your life, or they're going to add value. But actually a huge turning point for me was that I've got different friends in my life to serve different functions and different purposes. Like, for example, if I'm in a relationship, which I am, I'm not going to go to the single guy for relationship advice. I might go to the woman in a relationship. Or if I'm like hugely into football, I'm not going to talk to my mate who hates football about football. Doesn't mean that he's a toxic person or that this person is very beneficial, but actually different people in my life serve different purposes. And I think when I got to that point in life, I started to actually go back and reconnect with people who I cut off because I thought, right, they don't understand my mission. I can't be friends with them anymore because I'm on this path and my path looks like this and they don't serve that path. When actually, I probably shouldn't have done that. I probably shouldn't have been so extremist and realized that different people can serve different purposes in my life.
Absolutely. And your point about values is so important. And also it's finding people that align to the same values as you. And I think that's key. And I think I guess as you get older, you realize what's important, and what's not, and, the kind of people that you should surround yourself with.
So we've kind of touched on it in those couple of questions there, but you're obviously a very inspiring person. A lot of people listening to this will get inspired by you or look up to you. Who do you look up to? Don't mention David Goggins. Who do you look up to? Who inspires you? And again, then actually, potentially even a more important point would be, what sort of qualities would you look for if someone's going to, really kind of lift you up?
Yeah, I think I love like Ross Edgley. I just think he's done some awesome things. Just the fact that he swam around the UK with like jellyfish attached to his face, like munching on bananas and stuff is just like incredible. I think tenacity, like never giving up. Those kind of like skills, like regardless of like who someone is, or what they can do, it's more about values, like you just mentioned, and values of, respecting other people and inspiring other people and just, pushing yourself to do something that is, you know, a little bit different is kind of the kind of thing that I look up to in people, and people that say they do what they say they're going to do, for example.
So what sort of, we've obviously discussed some of the impact that you want to have, the impact that you want to have on people. You want people to, you know, understand how they can become the best versions of themselves, but then become the best versions of themselves as well. What sort of long lasting impact you want to have? What's the legacy? What would you like to leave behind?
Oh, I would just love to have like thousands of people. So there's a few people that also inspire me. You've got like Hiba Ali, who's got Evolve Nation. And I think if I can just inspire, you know, thousands of people just to take on different challenges or quit their job and go traveling, or just to do things that they wouldn't normally do, and they can just say, oh, I did that because of you, I'll be like, oh yes, like you're awesome. Like that is literally all that I want. For me, it's not, you know, financial success or anything like that. It's having people happier, healthier, you know, and more accomplished because of the passion that we share together.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I know I don't even know how I'd begin to describe the type of training you do now, but I know obviously traditionally it's probably more CrossFit type training. A lot of the time, again, people will see that as quite extreme. We know it's not. But for anyone who's potentially a beginner starting out in exercise, listening to this and again thinking this is unattainable, or I'll need to train for years to do this. When it comes to that type of training, although there does need to be an element of, you know, intensity, more often than that, or not, there does have to be a decent level of difficulty, so otherwise they're not going to challenge themselves. What advice would you give to them? What things can they learn from taking part in that type of exercise?
I think just knowing that it's, you know, if you work on your performance, you know, as a byproduct, your body is going to change as well. So there are so many benefits to exercise. I think rather than thinking about training for aesthetic purposes, is thinking about, you know, becoming fitter and stronger, and like what you can do rather than, you know, what you're going to look like. So I think if you go into your workout being like, okay, I want to do, you know, like 10 push-ups today, and I want to do, you know, 20 air squats and so on. And then, you know, next time, you know, aiming for, you know, like 12 push-ups or whatever, you know, and then progressively, you know, getting better, then that's only going to add value. So I think any advice would be, you know, to do training to de-stress and to become, you know, fitter and stronger, not just physically, but like mentally as well.
Yeah. Love that. Totally relate. And on that note, shall we tell her? Shall we tell Kirsty? Well, it's not even going to be bad now. We build it up into this big monster, and it's not even bad at all for you. Although I did suggest a different version for you, but I don't know whether that would work or not. I suggested a handstand, but I mean, I got overruled. No, we're only joking. Ben, do you want to tell Kirsty about what we're doing?
Yeah, so every guest that we've had in the podcast, we've set them the same challenge. Okay, so with the name of our podcast being Happy to Health, the initials H2H also stand for head to head. So basically you're going into competition against all of our other guests. Now, the challenge is pretty straightforward for someone like yourself, is to hold a squat for 60 seconds and answer as many quick fire questions as possible. Okay.
Oh, I love it. That's fun. Okay.
All right. And there's no right or wrong answer.
You're the first guest to ever say that. I could trust that.
Ben, are we talking like an overhead squat? Are we going front squat, back squat, air squat?
We're just, you know what it is? We're just an air squat. However, I know how I can make this exciting. The leader of the leaderboard is Matt Morton. So,
okay.
Yeah. He's leading with a total of 20 just now.
Okay. Questions that he's answered.
Questions that he's answered. Now I think he lied in most of them. He was very quick off the back. Don't do what another guest did. Lawrence Price was just on, and he's the nicest, most genuine, most polite person in the world. And
he's so sweet.
He answered. You know, when you're in school and when someone someone asks the question, and then you answer it by writing like the first part, like the question. So it was like what was your favorite subject at school? It was like, okay, so my favorite subject at school, and we were just like, just say something.
Yeah, it defeats the object of quick fire, doesn't it?
Yeah. So,
okay.
So quick fire, just an air squat. We'll get you positioned so the camera can see you. Ben will read them out quick fire. I don't think I need to say this to you. I can't remember if you've just said this or not. It's went out of my head. Anyway, if you can't hold it for the full 60, your total will be the number of questions that you've answered.
Okay.
But I think you'll be able to hold the full 60.
Should I do the timer?
All right.
Go for it.
Okay, I'm going to get the timer up.
Oh, I'm excited.
Okay.
There's a bit of challenge here. Yeah.
There we go.
All right, we'll turn it around then.
If you're ready,
okay.
Kirsty. Oh, she's already in it. She's ready. Right.
I'm ready, guys.
Right. 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
When are you most productive?
In the evenings, really late at night.
Who is your inspiration and why?
Heba Ali, because she's built Evolve Nation.
What's your favourite number and why?
7, just a lucky number.
In which subject were you worst at school?
Maths.
In which subject were you best at school?
PE.
What scares you?
Heights a little bit.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
If you could live anywhere in the world, where would that be?
Cape Town.
What would you change about yourself?
Longer legs, slightly.
What's something that you know you have to do but do not like doing?
What subject?
What's something that
something.
you know you
I
have to
hate
do but don't like doing?
like washing up and things like that.
What's something that you like doing?
Fitness.
What's your favourite hobby?
3.
Golf.
Sunrise or
1.
sunset?
Oh,
Sunrise.
Ty.
We'll give it that one.
We'll give it that one.
Minutes up. Sunrise.
Also, I'm sorry, but you almost said cats instead of dogs.
I know. I don't know why. I really don't. Yeah, definitely dogs.
I like how you specified with how much longer you wanted your legs to be.
I know, just a little bit.
Longer legs, but
It's
only
more-
slightly. Right.
It's not the height, when it's just like the limbs, certain limbs. I'm a bit out of proportion, so I think I'll just proportion myself a bit better.
It was also the real passion in your voice when you said that you don't like doing the washing as well.
It was like pure disgust. Like, washing.
How many did we get there?
A grand total of 13. So
okay.
Well done.
Matt's
Well
still
done.
the leader.
you are joint second with Mac and Sky.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mac, you're joint with Mac, so that's
All right, that's pretty good.
that's all right. Before we finish up, tell us a little bit about some of the exciting things that you've got coming up. So obviously we've touched on Amplify there. Amplify again, it's a fitness / social media app that you're obviously going to be on. Tell everyone what's coming up, anything exciting in the pipeline, and also if anyone wants to follow your journey or be inspired by you, where they can find you.
So there'll be a fitness camp here in Egypt on the north coast next year during the summer, which will be really awesome.
Cool.
If anyone wants to come and do an ultra marathon with me in Sri Lanka, then that's coming up in March. So come and do that. Otherwise, lots of little bits and pieces behind the scenes. Amplify is going to be awesome when that launches. And you can check me out on Instagram at Kirsty Hendey. And stay up to date with some of the content that I'm posting there and the challenges, and just get involved in some of those.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
Kirsty, thank you very much for joining us.
Oh no, thank you guys.
So that's it. That's a wrap on the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We certainly did here in the studio. I've learned so much from Kirsty, stuff I didn't even know about or I've learned today. We had so much fun filming this episode, and I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. If you did, all the support will be so greatly appreciated. With a review, with a share, with a like, whatever you can do, we appreciate it so much here at Happy to Health. So if you enjoyed it, show some love, and we'll see you in the next one.